if we're dealing with water, it's a very transparent liquid. So when you remove things that smell bad and taste bad, you think you're fixing a problem, but there's a whole lot more going on that you can't smell, see, or taste that needs to be addressed if you really want to get to that quality that a lot of people are talking about outwardly now.
Welcome to the podcast. Very excited today because we have Water Service Elite with us, and we have Nick DeValk, who's the regional sales manager, and Tony Pennington, the technical product engineer. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Thanks for having us, Brad.
Thanks for having us, Brad.
Yeah, so something that we've been connected for a while, and of course, you've been working with my team, on planning and design on some of these projects, including the home that we're building. And it's funny because I've seen my career pivot a lot over the last few years. We do a lot of sustainable projects. Net zero has been a big thing. Even pre-pandemic, we've had a lot of customers looking to reach out about, air quality, water quality, and especially in the pandemic, even more so. How have you seen your business change just with the demand for good water, clean water, right? Avoid the hard water that most of us have, like we have in Phoenix, and even, good HCO drinking water.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question, Brad. And glad you're taking initiative to fix those problems that people bring to your table for clean, healthy living. We do the same on our end. My name's Nick, by the way. We're based in Southern California, so we are very familiar with subpar water quality. A lot of hardness in our area, a lot of contaminants that are there that shouldn't be in a healthy home. And I think to answer your question, I think the conversation about water quality has only ramped up recently in the last few years. So people are definitely more conscious about the water that they're putting into their body, the water that's flowing through their homes and in their pipes, how they're interacting with it on a daily basis as far as consumption for drinking, but also more important, equally as important, is how you're protecting your investment in the home itself, taking the human health aspect out of the equation, and making sure all your appliances and all your fixtures and all of your pipes are protected, with that high quality water, as you would expect to be putting in your body, right?
Well, Nick, if I interrupt you, what's interesting about that is, it's easy to take this, which I'm sure we'll get into, like microplastics and just healthy living by having good water. But the interesting point you make about the maintenance of your house, I think most customers don't realize. I'll speak to Phoenix specifically. You may have the same thing in Southern California. Is we have very hard water, calcium, and so what people don't realize is you make an investment on these expensive plumbing fixtures, and most clients don't realize the amount. If you don't have a good soft water system that's taking away the hot water, what ends up happening is that calcium buildup builds up, so the flow rate changes. The fixtures will wear down and break over time. A lot of people don't realize even with their water heater, they have to drain it and clean it out. I mean, this is a maintenance thing that people don't do. And then unless you're taking apart your faucet, every year, every 6 months to keep it clean, that buildup comes and it really affects the performance. And that's just a small element of what you're speaking to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Not to mention, warranties on all those appliances as well. If you read the fine print on, let's say, a tankless water heater, the warranty is void if you don't have any sort of protection against scale. So, our whole intent is understanding, water quality in different regions that we work. We are working across the country and even out of country with some jobs coming up in Puerto Rico. We've done projects in Miami, Vegas, upstate New York. So we really take a tailored approach to where we're doing the work first to understand, what problems could potentially arise, and then kind of adjust our approach accordingly, just to make sure we're providing the best solution once for the longevity of that of our system and the longevity of the property, just so we're not doing those fixes 2-3 years out and having to rip things out and replace things and all of that. We're a quality over quantity operation, and we really take a lot of pride in pre-planning and doing the job correctly, rather than just slapping a Band-Aid on a larger wound and expecting it to heal right away.
Well, what's difficult about that is, it's one thing to come in and say, we have a great product for you. Here's the solution, right? For you in Miami, for Brad, you here in Phoenix. But water tables are different, right? The water quality is different. What's coming into my water is different than what someone's getting in Colorado and Florida. how do you adjust for that? How do you calculate that? How are you working within the local municipality to understand how you should specify the correct product and how much it should be, and have it engineered accordingly?
Yeah, great question. I think Tony, you can take the lead on that because you're the one, traveling all over the world, meeting with the trades teams, and
Sure. No, that's a great question. I can give you an example. Some places have use chloramine as their sanitizer. Some places use chlorine. You have to treat those differently. Being the manufacturer of our own products, even the cartridges that you see behind us, those are our Quick Connect cartridges. So we can pack those with specified medias to address specific contaminants in your local area. So, there's three ways that we can approach that in your area. One is to just look at the localized public utility water report that's put out, which is just a broad generalization, basically just to let you know what is potentially in the water. It's in the parameters that are safe for a slow death, I guess. And then we can also address that with a specific water quality test that we can recommend, whether you're on well water or city water. I just had a client today up in Palo Alto. They want to pull an in-depth water report on their city water. So, we can obviously look at that and break that down and digest that, and then recommend the correct filtration and contact times and size it properly. And then we also kind of bring the what is that the EWG database into perspective as well, to give reporting on healthy standards of, I guess, contaminants in water on a health perspective, and not just public utility perspective. So we're able to manage those. We can do RO. We can do everything from commercial to well water to city water treatment, and specifically design those for the client's needs.
When you're going through this, Tony, and you're coordinating, is it typically the end user? Is it the builder? Is it the developer? I mean, how does that relationship vary for Water Service Elite?
It varies because we have years of experience. Nick and I both in the water industry for 8 years, in our ownership over the last 20, 25 years. Like Nick said, I've traveled quite a bit for jobs across the country and internationally, and what we noticed is that there's a big missing link in accountability of knowledge and expressing how water works amongst the trades and homeowners and designers and assistants and project managers. So I think that's what we kind of bring to the table, is that we're showing up on behalf of the water itself and respecting that process as an ingredient into the overall build of the home, right? So I work with a lot of plumbers. I learn a lot from them, and then they learn a lot from me as far as water quality, so they get to move forward in their next job with a little bit more knowledge. But we work through all the levels on a job site, from architects to designers, whoever is taking on that scope of responsibility based on how that team works specifically. We've had plenty of conversations in all of those multi levels of conversations, so we can really integrate in and out kind of seamlessly and flexibly, with flexibility in those conversations. And I think that's why we add such a great value to what's to come in the water space, not just locally, but globally.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, Tony, because one of the items you mentioned that is very relatable to me as a general contractor is you mentioned the conversations you have with plumbers, right? Because at the end of the day, there's a
Mm-hmm.
tremendous amount of coordination from what you're evaluating, engineering, and specifying into the actual install.
Mm-hmm.
How complicated is it for you to work with so many different plumbing companies and so many different general contractors just to make sure that your product's installed correctly and it's functioning properly? Because the last thing you want is a client calling you and there's another party involved.
Right, right. That's a great question. I think it's because of our background and what we bring, what each of us bring to the conversation. Why Nick and I have worked so well together for so many years is because he brings a very valuable skill set to the conversations. I bring my own skill set. I worked in large-scale agricultural irrigation for about 12 years up in Stanislaus County with Hetch Hetchy, and I've worked in the field plenty, and I think the character is there. I know how to ask the right questions. I think understanding the character of who you're working with, as well as understanding their knowledge and working with that, it's steps above just another company trying to sell you a product, right? Because
Hmm.
their knowledge and their time and their experience, as you know, an orb of experience, depth and width and everything, kind of ends at a certain point, and they're just like, all right, good luck. But we do curate a lot of custom projects. We do a lot of custom projects. Some of our clients pay extra for my travel fees to consult with their trades during a high net worth or a high worth installation. I really go there to make sure our system is started up properly, people there are trained properly. I work with the plumbers, bounce ideas off of them, see how they're plumbing things in, and I'm just kind of there to make sure they strap it with the unistrut and not a zip tie kind of thing, you know. So
Hmm.
it's a little investment on the client's end to be sure that someone for our team is showing up to hold their investment accountability for good installation as well.
Hmm.
What about over the?
Yeah, and
Oh,
I'm
Yeah,
go ahead, Nick.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I wanted to jump in and just make a quick point on that
Mm-hmm.
question as well, Brad. I know Tony, you mentioned a lot of your relationship building with trades in the field, but
Mm-hmm.
just want to touch on the system design
Mm-hmm.
itself, as far as the materials that we use, the processes that we use, the specific order that we put them in. If you look behind us right here, this is one of our flagship systems. It looks very different from what you would
Yeah.
see traditionally in the water space, as
Mm-hmm.
far as two large tanks. Given the experience that we've had in the industry and then our ownership, about double what Tony and I have had. Our system design comes as sort of fixing a lot of problems that we see in the field.
Mm-hmm.
So we're engineering a lot of the issues that we see in traditional systems away by using quick connect filters, by using advanced ultrafiltration membranes rather than just a stacked media
Mm-hmm.
tank with carbon and KDF that you can find anywhere. So that when presented to a plumber, it may be new, but everything's based in traditional plumbing knowledge. Everything is
Mm-hmm.
flow and pressure based.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're trying to eliminate as many moving parts as possible because
Mm-hmm.
we all know that when you have more moving parts, there's more opportunity for failures. So everything that we do is about as simplistic as you can get in design,
Mm-hmm.
but advanced in function.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I know for us, one of the, plumbing in general has been, I don't want to say the most difficult trade. It's definitely been one of the trades hit hardest, right? With labor crunch and,
Mm-hmm.
talent and aging out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even with the expertise and the communication style you guys have, I mean, what issues have you had with just that end user, that plumber that's out there? Because it does differ, by state and project.
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, we haven't had too many issues with plumbing and startup. Like Nick said, it's all based in traditional plumbing. We have startup. We create our own startup manuals and videos and instructional processes for these people to learn. We're always available by long distance call for consulting as well. Um, yeah, we've been pretty good at communicating long distance jobs. I mean, we've done quite a few jobs out in Nashville
Hmm.
remotely, just over working with plumbing teams out there. We've been really fortunate to work with some good teams.
Mhm. We also bring another level of planning, right? I can tell from the work that you do, Brad, you put an emphasis on pre-planning, just to make sure everything, all the, T's are crossed, I's are dotted,
Mhm.
and then move forward with execution. So we take the same approach on our end with, all of our systems that we have. We have 3D augmented reality renderings of everything that we do. So if we're doing a job remotely,
Mhm.
we find a location for the system. We're not going to be out there with, taping out the floor or doing chalk lines that could wear off or get overlooked or whatever. We can actually place our units in real time at that location, screenshot it, mark it up with, connections here, leak defense there, drain goes here, so you get a real time representation of the final product before you even start doing anything on site. So that's another thing we take, and we bring a lot of technology as far as our planning and in our
Mhm.
operation of our systems to work for our advantage. And then all that, of course, just trickles down to the end user experience at the end of the day.
Walk us through something that I really enjoy out of kind of both of your, I don't want to say pitch, but really your communication process is that this should be considered like an appliance, right? So as you're thinking about,
Absolutely.
the package, everyone understands appliances. You need your cooktop and you need your refrigerator and you need your dishwasher, you need
Hmm.
these elements to function, right?
Yep.
And walk us through about just the value add of having, water filtration in your home as if it's an appliance, just like the other ones we're already installing.
Certainly, yeah, and I think that kind of goes to the communication that we've had with builders, contractors, architects, homeowners, tradespeople in the field. What we've seen is mostly the norm is that water filtration sort of gets left on the back burner until the very last step. And then all of a sudden we're dealing with a small broom closet available of space, right?
Yep.
So clients come to us with that thing at the very end of their list, and they said, all right, what can you do in this space? We want water filtration. It's like, well, I wish you would have come to us earlier. So I think that's where we like to get involved as soon as possible so we can plan for appropriate filtration. Just for the peace of mind for, long-term living. If you're building forever homes and you are putting in, sub-zero freezers, you're putting in high-end dishwashers, you're putting in high-end stoves, you're doing everything, all these appliances in one way or another interact with water, right? The water that you're feeding these brand new appliances throughout the home, you want to make sure that's the utmost quality too, to just protect the investment of the other appliances. If that gets overlooked, we're going back to what we had started our conversation with hard water detriment, scale buildup, ripping out appliances and replacing them after a 2, 3 year period just because they're getting beat up with all the contaminants in the water. So, again, just having that foresight and that knowledge of like water filtration is absolutely paramount for human health,
Hmm.
but also equally as important for the health of your investment in the property. And then you won't have to run into these issues 2, 3 years out, if done correctly first. So integrating that as an appliance like you would anything else in the front end just saves a whole lot more headaches down on the tail end.
Now, as you look at, I think a lot of users or people listening may have questions as far as, I don't want to say diversification, but there's a difference between water filtration for hard water, right? That you're going to see at,
Hmm.
bathing areas, um, maybe sink faucet that you're probably not drinking out of. And so walk through like the soft water in correlation with the drinking water, right? You're going to have at an
Sure.
RO location or maybe at the sink or an ice maker, how those function and how you're designing the system to incorporate both.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's kind of two different sets of rules when you're dealing with I like to call it working water. That's the water that's flowing throughout the entire home for showering, for bathing, for toilets, for cooking, dishwashing, all of that stuff, right? And then there's the water that you're going to be consuming. So we take two different approaches to that, both of which are found within our packages that we offer. On the whole home side of things, we optimize everything to provide the quality of water needed for the entire home with the technology that we have available. If you were to take an RO system that's geared more for contaminant removal for consumption, scale that up, put it on a big home, first of all, the price tag is going to be, you know,
Through the
unachievable by
roofer.
most, right? Second of all, the wastewater is going to be extreme, so you're going to see highly elevated water bills. There's that eco-friendly consideration that's not, met with a whole home RO. So that's why we don't use RO on the whole home. We use ultrafiltration. It's a high flow, low waste solution. The wastewater of that is actually a non-brine. You can capture that, use it for irrigation. So you can actually get to a true net zero
Hmm.
water usage and water waste with our whole home system. So that's the approach we take there. We have two different styles. We can do a anti-scale media in our cartridges, which does not require salt. It doesn't require large volumes of backwashing. Um, so that's new technology. We can also apply a traditional softener as well. If that's what the client needs or requests, just to have that true softness, hardness removal. But then we take the other approach is our under-the-counter drinking water system. It's standard in all of our packages. We use RO. We have a one-to-one product to waste ratio RO membrane, so that's the highest efficiency RO membrane that you can get. We reintroduce essential minerals back into the water for consumption for a nice healthy pH balance. And then we're using our product that we designed in-house. It's an LED-based ultraviolet non-chemical sanitizer, just to ensure all the biologics are targeted and taken care of in the water, so you're not drinking water that's got bacteria and getting you sick. So yeah, we take all of that into consideration, and then optimize the water throughout the home and for consumption based on usage and needs in each application.
Walk us through, because Nick, you touched on something that's interesting. You mentioned the net zero, right? The sustainability
Right.
aspect, especially in maybe a desert climate like Phoenix, where people are very concerned about water usage. Las Vegas, even parts of California. Walk through that again, how you're working through sustainability, net zero, even, and how that's a huge benefit to the customer and environment.
Certainly. So yeah, I think I touched on it a little bit in our whole home systems, our ultrafiltration membranes that we use for the whole home contaminant removal. Um, First of all, it's a very low size contaminant removal. It's at 0.015 microns of contaminant removal. So that's getting down to mechanical removal of viruses, bacteria, cysts, microplastics at that level. If you're looking at a traditional carbon tank, you're maybe getting about 5 microns of contaminant removal. So right out of the gate, that's a much smaller size of contaminant that we're removing. And then through that process, we're backwashing our membranes once every 24 hours. It's an automatic backwash just to ensure that the membranes are fresh and performing as they should in real time. But the net zero aspect of that is the wastewater of that backwash is significantly lower. We're maybe putting back about a gallon or 2 gallons max per backwash cycle. And as I mentioned, that water is non-brine, so it's actually healthy for plants. It's not going to affect any biologics of planter beds or drainage. You could put that out to sewer. You could put it out to storm drain. A lot of clients in
Or septic too.
environmentally septic works as well. Yeah, but in an environmentally sensitive area where water waste is a concern, you can actually capture that wastewater and daylight it to a planter bed, or you can daylight it to your backyard, or you can capture it and boost it out to irrigation, whatever you choose to do with that water. So it's not just exclusively going down the drain,
Right.
and it's going to be a loss.
Yeah.
And one more thing I want to touch on too is our water monitoring and leak detection. We apply that standard to all of our systems. It's an ultrasonic meter that actually accounts for all the water being used in the home down to the drop. So you have an app on your phone. You can look at your water usage in real time. It actually learns the usage of water throughout your home. So it'll recognize, oh, that's a toilet flush, or that's a shower, or that's a cycle in the dishwasher. Anything outside of that threshold, you'll get an alert on your phone, which may potentially be a leak in a wall or a leak in an irrigation pipe or somewhere where it'll only be a problem unless you notice it, and then by that time it's too late, right? So this is a proactive approach to water conservation and water management. When you have something that's alerting you to a potential leak and the ability to shut off the main water line right from your phone, fix the problem before you're coming to a very expensive flooded basement or anything else like that. So I mean, there's layers of protection that we provide too, as in that regard.
Yeah, that meter is also approved in LA County as a sub meter as well, because we have built-in back-end billing for that as well. So it's attractive for ADUs. We also work with those on apartments, condos. They're great for that. Like Nick said, it's a smart meter. It's ultrasonic based. There's no turbines in it like all the other standard leak detection and monitoring devices that are out there. And I wanted to go back actually to the process of our system and why those cartridges are so important, what they offer as far as contaminant removal and the anti-scale media that's in them. So the reason why we designed those is because of issues like what was it, Nick, Scottsdale we were calling, and they were giving rebates to
Hmm.
remove the water softeners because of the
Hmm.
wastewater. So through our process and our media, it doesn't necessarily remove the hardness like a traditional softener does. That's the only real true way to remove the minerals. But what ours does is it coats the hardness in the water and disallows it to scale. So therefore, you're not getting potentially people complain about a slimy feeling or they can't wash the
Hmm.
soap out of their hair or anything like that. It's because we're not essentially removing the minerals. We're just disallowing them to scale on product, right? So uh, that's what allows us to get outside of the realm of having to be only tied to one option, which is a traditional water softener.
Well, you bring up two really good points, Tony, because one of the pushbacks that clients do have with the water softener is that point specifically. It's slimy, it feels weird, it feels different. I
Hmm.
can't wash, a woman that has a ton
Yeah,
of hair, it's hard to wash their hair.
for sure.
And the second thing is they run. The systems are loud, they run, water
Hmm.
waste is, happening in the garage, typically where that unit is at.
Yeah, lots of moving parts, man. There's lots of teeth in there to break. So yeah.
Yeah. And when you talk about that buildup, you talk about scale, that buildup, and really that's what ends up happening is now when it has those minerals build up and they
Hmm.
over time, that shower head that may have a really nice flow or rain head
It's
specifically,
going
I've
like
seen it build up. Yeah. And then, yeah, you
Yeah.
may have
Yeah.
like eight,
shooting over there.
yeah, you have 80 different
Mm.
openings and 30 of them are
Yeah.
working and they're shooting all over the
Mhm.
place.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Or you're getting saw cut by one really intense beat of water, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all true. That's all true, and it's like that's why I think we've taken our experience and really worked hard to develop and design a lot of the pain points out of how traditional water treatment is looked at, starting from a residential point of view. Back to the LED UV that we're working with. That's a first of its kind. That we're offering. It's not
That's
not a mercury base. I can let Nick kind of dive into that.
Yeah. Educate us on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's a
yeah, yeah.
product.
If you let's go ahead and dig into that. I think did we answer your question on the
Yeah, yeah.
net zero, eco-friendly? If we want to touch on that a little bit
No,
more,
it's
we
good. I
can.
think it's very beneficial.
Cool. Perfect. So yeah, a lot of things that we have developed truly in-house. Like Tony mentioned, we are the direct manufacturers and designers of all these systems. We're not taking someone else's product and just slapping our name on it and reselling it. We've got complete control over, you know, how everything here integrates and
Hmm.
works. Specifically, our leak, our water monitoring and leak detection. I'm pointing to it right here. That's an in-house product. We've got our LED-based ultraviolet sanitizer. Um,
Yep.
this is really important, really, really important in the water treatment industry. So UV, ultraviolet light, is used heavily in water treatment. Not only for residential, but for production, for hospitals, for pharmaceutical applications. Basically, its whole job is to eliminate any biological concerns in the water, right? So viruses, bacterias, a lot of big ones that we see, especially in well systems, coliform, E. coli. Those are two big ones. So any waterborne pathogens that you ingest and end up getting sick, UV is there to do the job to kill it non-chemically,
Hmm.
other than a chemical sanitizer like chlorine or chloramine, right? That's why you get the water that smells like chlorine, chloramines. The city's putting that in just to protect the water as it's traveling through the infrastructure. It's doing its job, but it's toxic. We don't want to be ingesting that or bathing in it or vaporizing it through your lungs in a
Breathing it
hot
in a hot
shower.
shower or in a hot tub.
Right. Right. So what we've developed is a new style of ultraviolet light treatment. Traditionally, ultraviolet lights come in a mercury vapor bulb. They're very long reaction chambers, big cylinders, depending on the flow rate. They can get, pretty tall.
Hmm.
Inside of that goes a quartz sleeve, and then inside of that quartz sleeve goes a bulb. Both are very fragile. Both have the potential to crack, to break. There's O-rings in there that can get pinched. If they're not seated correctly, you get a lot of leaks.
Hmm.
Those things put out a lot of heat because they are a vapor-based bulb. Like anything else, you wouldn't want to be touching an incandescent light bulb if it's been on for over an hour. You'll burn yourself, right? So imparting that into the water, yes, it's doing its job as it's supposed to, but there are some pain points there, being the heat, being the power draw, being the scaling that can happen on the quartz sleeve.
Mhm.
So we've developed a product in-house that's an LED version of what I just explained. So if you're looking at ambient lighting, everything has gone away from incandescent and fluorescent. Everything is LED now. The water industry hasn't quite made that leap yet because it's very tricky to do. But we've got a great PhD that has designed a functional product in a variety of flow rates with an LED as the engine rather than a mercury vapor lamp. And then it's eliminating mercury as well. I know that's going to be a huge issue. It is now, but moving forward in the future, there's going to be heavier legislation on mercury and how that's kind of transferred and
Yeah.
manufactured throughout the globe. So the LED has extreme benefits, just kind of disrupting that whole market for water treatment.
Yeah,
What?
also from a maintenance perspective as well.
Mm,
It's a simple swap out of a tray instead of a big glass lamp and bulb and quartz sleeve. We're
mm,
we're actually calling it a light engine, like Nick
mm,
said earlier. So yeah, there's no. I mean, I'm already installing them and performing maintenance on them. I've installed hundreds and hundreds and maintenance hundreds of UV bulbs and have cracked countless quartz sleeve on accident, and yeah, they're headaches. You don't need extra real estate because you're just pulling out a tray. Yeah, there's no heat. It's instant treatment, whereas traditional mercury vapor-based bulb systems take about 10 to 15 minutes to warm up. So there's a lot of advantages, low power draw, and we could actually run them off of solar as well. So parts of the world where people are just trying to essentially live off the water that they're accessible to, we can go in there, provide solar disinfection of those contaminants at low energy, and get into
mhm,
that space as well. We have those for many flow rates from 1 up to about 30 gallons per minute right now. On
mhm,
jobs where we need higher flow rates, currently we're paralleling and building out a manifold of higher flow rates, but we're getting to the development of higher flow rates of that as well.
mhm. Yeah, and I
Lots.
know we kind of got a little
Yeah, sorry.
long-winded on
No, you're
that.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to simplify for a little bit,
Yeah.
just as like an end user experience in a home.
Hmm.
An under-the-counter RO drinking water system where you're removing chlorine. You need to have some sort of sanitizer on that. A lot of water companies or plumbers aren't using UV on an under-the-counter drinking water system just because of the heat. If you have a UV in there, you pour your first glass, it's warm, people don't like it, you have to flush that out. So people would rather just say, you know what, I don't want that experience, take the UV off. But it's absolutely critical if you want water to be sanitized.
Hmm.
So as an experiential thing, the LED doesn't leave any heat pocket in the water, and you're still getting that protection.
Hmm.
That's incredible.
Mhm.
Going back to a comment that Tony had made about pain points, right? What do you find the biggest pain point for your customers? What's the biggest demand that you have? Is it, looking at soft water? Is it looking at water filtration, right? Drinking water, because you have,
Hmm.
different formats. What do you find the biggest demand to be?
Uh, yeah, addressing hardness, drinking water, I think, are the two main ones, and then, but the way that the consciousness is shifting on, how accessible these water reports are, and the conversations that are going on now in California, it's PFAS and trihalomethanes. Those are
Mhm.
huge factors. We just did a test up in Malibu, a field test, and our cartridge filters showed removal results of 100% of the PFAS, the trace PFAS in the whole home, the water through just the whole home system. So yes, hardness and then conservation as well.
Hmm.
I mean, that's
Mhm.
a big point. Another resolution that we've offered that I hear over and over and over again is, oh, you mean I don't have to add all those bags of salt anymore? And it's
Right.
like, correct. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
on whatever level that's a value. It's a
Yeah.
value. So there's
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of different. Those I would say those are some of the main ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of systems on very high net worth clients' homes as well, with targets on their back sometimes about water usage, and we get them out of uh, that threshold, right? They're not wasting all this water now to treat like a 20,000 square foot home or whatever, right? I mean, whatever level we're working at, there is a value for the lifestyle and I think the interest of what that specific person is hoping to accomplish. Um, and I wanted to also speak to why the cartridge filters on our systems are also so valuable. Is that in a tank style system, um, you have the media that's stacked in the 2 cubic feet, 2.5 cubic feet, whatever. Over time, that media starts to condense in pockets within that tank. So essentially, after about a year or so, I mean, the water starts channeling through those hard pockets. It's not contacting the media as it was originally designed. So you're not getting the surface time across the media. So essentially, it's not doing its job anymore. So you're not getting the filtration. So if you have those tank systems sitting there for 5, 10 years, they're not efficient. These cartridges are designed to be changed out every 256,000 gallons instead of, just once a year or whatever. And that's all dictated by the meter that we include, which gives you an update of your usage through the app.
What's interesting is outside of, I mean, you have client demand, you have, you're hitting these points of not just comfort, but sustainability. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
these are
Mm-hmm.
definitely key focuses of our clientele, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you look at your company and kind of the growth through today and where it's going, how do you feel that's going to change in your favor? Whether it's government regulation that'll continue to happen for wastewater and cleanliness, as well as just a growing demand of people that are more aware of what they're putting into their body, what's around their body, and what
Right.
the environment aspect of sustainability.
Right. Well,
Yeah, I think
I've got 2 kids that are going
yeah.
to be older, and they're going to have certain expectations. So,
Mm,
they're going to hold me accountable for, you know, leaving them what I've left them. So, it's like we have a whole nother wave of thinkers coming in behind us who are going to be buying homes and expecting, things already pre-installed and those kind of solutions. So I think Nick and have always had this kind of like MO of like, man, we'd love to get to a point where we can get our water systems on homes as a pre-installed, just like you would a hot water heater.
This kind of goes back to the investment part, right? And what I mean by
Mm-hmm.
that is that, a lot of people will be like, "Hey, Brad, from an interior design perspective, or a good
Mm-hmm.
architect,
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
there's an investment, right? That's not just a luxury service, but there's an investment for a good architect, a good designer. But
Mm-hmm.
your investment, the dollars you're putting into your project, right, from resale to how you live in the home to how you feel, and it's how you're inspired, there's a ton of value that gets that matches, if
mhm,
not exceeds, that investment. And you think about, for us as a builder, a lot of clients are concerned about price. I'm sure a lot of your
Mm-hmm.
customers are concerned about price. And
Mm-hmm.
there's an investment, right? You go
mhm,
into with Water Service Elite, there's an investment to do that, but
Mm-hmm.
you're investing in something that's not only from a personal health standpoint or possibly environmental standpoint, but
Mm-hmm.
like we touched on, the appliances. I mean, you have plumbing fixtures that you're spending. I mean, I have
mhm.
clients,
Woo!
you put in Waterworks fixtures or, Callista. I mean, these are
Yeah.
not cheap fixtures, right? So there's an investment portion that you're saving.
Yeah, they're not inexpensive. All
Mhm.
the Dornbrock faucets and all that from Germany and woo.
Yeah.
So those are
Yeah.
those are it's all an investment. It all comes down to an investment.
Mm,
The water conversation is a difficult one to have if you're just getting started. I think because there's just so much information out there. We just know that we want to show up and provide the most current knowledge in tech and actual treatment. Uh, so that potentially, we can get to a point where a home builder is building a home and we're already installed on their project. Just like, sometimes it's a tankless hot water heater recommendation. Sometimes it's this specific gas style faucet. But to
mhm,
remove that added frustration of the client, they might go through 4 different water companies after they're into their home, but I don't know if they even get to the point where they truly feel like they've made the best decision. It either comes down to who's the cheapest or I'm too exhausted to have this conversation anymore. So,
mhm.
so just give me that, so, And we're a U.S. company. We want people, investing in us and working with us instead of just ordering something offline from God knows where. So, we're built in the USA and love that aspect about it, what we do.
But that's why you need a good salesperson like Nick, who's very diligent and good about making those calls and following up.
He is. He is.
That's right.
I can attest to that.
That's right.
Yep. We've worked together for a long
Yeah.
time, and I love that about him. So, yeah.
He doesn't miss. So
No.
Thank you guys. I'm blushing over here. I want to put that question back on you though, Brad.
yeah.
Yeah.
In your experience in the the people you've worked with and in the home building world, what do you see? What are the questions you're asked about water quality and water treatment?
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because I would say early on it was pretty rare that any client asked about water filtration. Really, I mean, you may hear about like can I get a soft water system? Just from a big box store. You put it in your garage, as you mentioned, you have to have the salt and it runs at night and
Mm-hmm.
whatever else. So that was rare. It was rare that people would ask about VOCs, based on paint and
Mm-hmm.
off gassing, but that's changed. I mean, even to the
Mm-hmm.
point we're building. I mean, we do a lot of ICF construction. We do a lot of net zero construction.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of clients weren't aware of what ICF was. They weren't aware of net zero. They weren't aware of, a passive house design. That's completely changed, whether it's social media, whether it's YouTube, whether it's just seeing what their peers are doing. And so it's very common now. And this is why we've connected is it's very common that clients are asking for, I don't want to say the latest and greatest, but they're really concerned, especially the pandemic. I mean, it was the
Mm-hmm.
first time I saw people asking about the ventilation in their home and,
Mm-hmm.
asking about the water consumption, right? Especially in Arizona. I mean, it's a big city. There is concerns. You're in the desert about sustainability. There's
Mm-hmm.
concerns about how good the water is. And just along that line, I have a lot of customers that have made the point, because I know you guys do commercial too, where they're like, when you go to a restaurant and let's say you're just getting a soft drink, you can tell if that water's not filtered. You're drinking
Yep.
a Coke or a
Mm-hmm.
Pepsi that's out of the fountain
Mm-hmm.
and you take a sip and you're like, this doesn't taste good. Why doesn't it taste good? And it's because,
Mm-hmm.
the bones of that mix, that water is not filtered and it tastes different. And so clients recognize that
Right.
and they're like, hey, if I can taste it in a soft drink that's already being masked by so many other agents, like why, I want something that's clean and I'm concerned about my health,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
Definitely.
think that's where we come in with education. Right at the top is just explaining why this is important to people because sometimes people just don't understand, or don't even have the knowledge to ask the right questions of why is this important. I think we touched on a lot of it, but
Mm-hmm.
coming in and kind of bridging that educational gap is big for us. And as pushy as I have been with phone calling people, it's not the sales approach that we like to take, and I think I can speak for Tony too. We come in and just educate, give everybody the best knowledge to empower them to make a decision based on what we've provided and what we've curated on our end. Welcoming people to take a look at other things, but 9 times out of 10, if someone decides to do that, they end up circling back and being like, we haven't really been able to find a package as comprehensive as what you're offering with that level of detail
Mm-hmm.
that you're putting into your design. That being full package leak detection, whole home drinking water, installation, aftercare, just making sure everything is absolutely dialed.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and one thing I want to ask you that we touched on briefly, and I kind of teed up is microplastics. This is something that people are
Mm-hmm.
becoming much more aware of microplastics. How
Mm-hmm.
does your, system coordinate with the fear of microplastics that a lot of our customers are asking about and concerned about?
We love that question.
Yeah. It's a
uh,
hot topic.
it's a hot
It's a hot
topic.
topic right now.
Yeah, and that goes back to what Nick explained earlier about our micron size contaminant removal on our UF membrane for the whole home system. So carbon, unless you're purchasing specially packed media, is going to basically be 5 micron size. Our UF membrane is 0.015, so we're not just removing microplastics, we're removing nanoplastics because we're in the submicron category now. So we're able to remove that on a whole home level, and then the drinking water system is RO based, so that's 0.0001 micron, removing trace pharmaceuticals, trace hormones, microplastics, so filtering down to that level as far as our treatment, what we offer is concerned in that realm. But it's an issue for sure. It's a big issue.
Hmm.
Um, the awareness has grown on that quite a bit too.
Hmm.
So being that you,
Yeah, and I think
oh, go ahead, Nick.
yeah. I just want to just a little caveat on that. I think, whatever anybody decides to latch onto as far as, a water quality conversation,
Hmm.
whether it's trihalomethanes, PFAS, microplastics, it's a really good start in the right direction of them to be open to understanding
Hmm.
kind of the deeper level of water treatment holistically. Because once you start getting into it, that's what I really love about the industry and why I latched on to doing what I'm doing right now is there's so many different layers of processes and procedures and done in specific orders. So if someone's concerned about, let's say, the microplastic thing, and then you get to come in and satisfy that question with what we're doing, and then you start opening things up. Well, did you know, a water softener is not a filter? Did you
Hmm.
know that, it's important to have filtration on your home because you're vaporizing chlorine into your lungs in a shower? Did you know that our leak detection, is homeowners insurance compliant? You might get a rebate or things like that, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then opening the door to that deeper level conversation.
I love that you bring up that, soft water is not drinking. I mean, it's not RO. There's a big difference there, which some people don't realize,
Hmm.
at least some of the general consumers.
Hmm.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
get.
want to touch on that and
Yeah.
just be very, yeah. No,
Go.
you go ahead, Tony. You started.
No, sorry, man. I was just, I get a lot of. There's always the bulk statement is we get a call. I need a water softener. And that statement is always like the back end of that, and the knowledge is it removes contaminants. It's going to remove this and that and that. It's only addressing the hard minerals. So then we have to start over from that point. Because we're not just going to sell somebody a softener and be shady and be like, okay, we took your money. You think what you want to think. Thank you. We're we're not that way. We want to educate people. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Mm.
Go for it, Nate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just doubling down on that. A water softener is not a filter. It's just removing hard minerals. But yeah, in order to actually filter, and a lot of the things that are unseen, untasted, unsmelled,
Mhm.
right? If we're dealing with water, it's a very, transparent liquid. And so when you remove things like that smell bad and taste bad, mainly chlorine, you think you're fixing a problem, but there's a whole lot more going on that you can't smell, see, or taste that needs to be addressed if you really want to get to that quality that a lot of people are talking about outwardly now. Um,
But what we've realized though through the years, I mean, sure you can back me on this, Nick, is once we get them to that point and they taste that water that's been treated properly,
hmm.
they're like, dude, I'm not drinking anything else. I mean, it's a real, you notice the
Hmm.
difference through the taste and the viscosity of it, and
Mm.
everything else that supports what thought you
Yeah.
thought tasted clean.
Or after that or after that first
Dude, the
shower,
shower is
you
a
know.
big deal. Hey, like this system here,
Uh-huh.
this system here, our filtration with that Grundfos booster pump, the client only had about 45, 50 psi going into the home. So we threw that booster pump on there, and they're set right at about 67, 68 psi. And the first shower they took after that boosted pressure with that clean water, it's like changed their life. So
Hmm.
just the pressure addition and the contaminant removal was a game changer in their relationship with their home now and their water.
Hmm.
So
So we've been speaking about how you're solving my pain points as a general contractor, the customer's pain points.
Hmm.
What keeps you both up at night? What is the pain points of your company? What are the pain points of your
Oh
company?
gosh. I'd say all the technology that we're putting out is new
hmm
in the space. Getting kind of what we are doing recognized in the water treatment space outside of what you see all the time,
Hmm.
like the dual tank system. The quick turnaround. Don't want to name names, but you've seen them. There's companies out there that are, turning over things, and all respect, right? They're cleaning up water, they're making money, they're doing business. Like, you got my two thumbs up. But coming into that industry that's established with new technology and just getting people to like pause a moment, understand what we're really saying, rather than say, "Ah, that's new." Like, I'm just going to go with what I'm comfortable.
So maybe along those lines, then, how are you doing your marketing or customer education, right? Because you have to get in front of the customer, and
Hmm.
it could be B2B, it could be B2B to C. I mean, there's a few different avenues for you. So, how are you marketing the company, the brand, and getting to the right network, the right ideal client?
Yeah, we like to target builders. I think that's how I found you. Just because you understand the client's needs, you understand the needs of the home. So it kind of goes both ways, right? If we're going directly to the client, maybe it's a little bit too late. We do that approach as well, but
Mhm.
trying to get involved on an institutional level with general contractors and builders, just so we can. Um, there's more of an understanding of kind of the nuts and bolts aspect of like where it's going to go, how is it plumbed, what's the pressure, what's the pipe size, all that good stuff. So that's a big thing for us is marketing to people that are actually building or maintaining homes. But then also the approach too of kind of local targeted ads for consumers that are looking for water treatment but don't know where to go or just kind of get lost in the whole mix of bombarded with all sorts of different sales pitches and claims and everything like that. And I want to touch on that too, is, we've done a lot of work to set ourselves up with certifications and licenses. We're certified water specialists from the Water Quality Association. We hold our C55 contracting license in California that's specific to water treatment technology. Um, so everything that we do, we back it up. There's transparency in everything that we do. We prefer it that way. So all the claims that we make are assuredly, true, and we won't say anything that we can't back up.
What do you guys do for fun?
Oh, for fun.
Oh,
I'm two
yeah, hang
blocks
out
from
with
the
my
beach.
kids,
I'm
checking on my kids.
I'm 2 blocks from the beach, man. No, it's Southern California is a
It
great
doesn't
place
hurt to
to
be
live.
2 blocks from the beach for Nick. Yeah.
Yeah, we're both in Santa Barbara. Yeah, about a few blocks from the beach, so it's a great environment to come back to. That's for sure. It's a lot to do here.
Santa Barbara's
Oh,
great.
mhm.
Carpinteria's not a bad little town, not too far from you
Hmm.
guys as well. I mean, there's a lot of good beach towns as you head down the coast from you guys.
Definitely,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
That's I'm in Carpinteria
Cool.
right now, 2 blocks from the beach.
There you go. That's a good place. So,
Yeah.
what's upcoming and excited for you guys?
A lot of growth potential. We're really excited about what's to come. Like Nick, I think, kind of spoke to just now was, our licenses and certifications and lab test results and listings that we need. And it's really exciting to be working with these products, meeting people like yourself. Uh, we're just looking. That's what's up and coming and exciting for us is growing this and getting this opportunity out to the world and solving some issues um, more efficiently. I mean, these products, this new technology that we're bringing to the table is designed for longevity and sustainability, not just as an entire package, but as individual products, just fundamentally by their design. I mean, LED ultraviolet light. I mean, we're talking lamp engine life's 5 to 10 years potentially before a
Mhm.
replacement's needed. That's much less waste. That's much less traveling of parts. That's much lower of a footprint. Net zero whole home systems with uh, backwash that can be utilized. So this is all very exciting. I mean, I think we're just kind of both geeking out. We've been in the water space for so long. This is like, this is exciting for us, and we like to see people excited about learning something new and having a conversation about it. Yeah.
So, where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, you
Our
go.
website is waterserviceelite.com.
We've got our
Makes
our
it easy.
social.
And same for Instagram, Water Service Elite.
That's right.
Yes, Water Service Elite on Instagram as well. You can send us a DM, check out our products. You can go to our website, look at all of our spec sheets, all of our technology. We also have augmented reality QR codes on there. So if you want to mess around, pull up your phone, scan one of the codes, and you can place any of these systems here on your wall. You can walk up to it, look at it up close, inspect it. Um, and then you can also look at our blog section on our website where we've shown a few jobs that we've done taken from an AR perspective site visit and site walk to all the way through to completion.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mhm.
Well, I really appreciate it, guys. I know how busy you are, and It's been very educational. I know not just for me, but for those listening. And can't thank you enough for making time for us today.
Yeah, right back at you, Brad. I
Thank you
really
so much.
appreciate you giving us.
Is
Yeah, thanks for giving us an
this is
opportunity
really great.
to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you get value from the show, please support us by giving a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you listen to. And I also have a favor to ask. We've had some incredible guests that come on and share their wisdom, their knowledge about their business. So if you have friends or family members that could benefit from those episodes, please share it with them, as well as any other business owners that you're networking with that could get value from the podcast or certain episodes. Please share those as well. Again, subscribe, make sure you're following. Any questions that you have, topics. We've had listeners reach out about certain guests that we should have on the show. Again, brad.l@aftconstruction.com. Email me for topics to address, guests that we should have on, and even if you think you'd be a great guest for the show. So again, thank you for all your support, and we'll see you next time.